The hosts feel it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We are about to unfold the story of Frankenstein, a man of science who sought to create a man after his own image without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to. Well, we've warned you.
Hello and welcome once again to the Frankencast. I'm the mad scientist Anthony Bowman. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm joined as always by...
your brand new favorite actor that is now buried in a ton of hypertrichosis makeup, that is Eric Velasquez. My pronoun is also he, him.
Yeah, I knew he was in this, but it was weird to just see him as such in just a small role and, buried under makeup, which is the thing that I know he hated.
Right, straight up, just known as the keeper of the law. Let's not give this character a name. Let's not even really worry about it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I know I have seen this, but it was so long ago that, like, I did not really have any memory. Like, in fact, I think the only thing I really remembered was the way that Bela Lugosi looked at it, because it's just so wild. Like, they really buried him in fur.
Absolutely. But, yeah, that's, so spoiler alert on that one. So this week we're talking about The Island of Lost Souls, a.k.a. one of the first remakes of Island, or Dr. Moreau? Adaptations.
I think this was the first, and, of course, I don't know why. Like, I'm not sure why it's not called The Island of Dr. Moreau, since everything else about, like, it's not hiding it. Like, it is...
No.
His name is Moreau. Like, all the other things are directly out of the novel.
Here's my distinct look into the American psyche. Probably that sounded too French.
Yeah.
American audiences wouldn't get it.
Yeah, the Island of Lost Souls definitely sounds like, like scarier or like something really bad's it's more descriptive than just a person's name.
Right.
Maybe the novel. I don't know if the novel was like as well known at the time, but yeah, I mean, obviously the other two major adaptations that used the full title, but it may have just been more in the zeitgeist at that point.
Oh yeah, I mean, the House of Pain has become its own thing, right? I mean, I think it's actually what is it? Not Brahmanism, Zoroastrianism. It's like their version of hell, but also
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Also, the rap group famous for the song "Jump Around."
Yeah, House of Pain. Yeah, exactly. So it's there in a bunch of different places. So
yeah.
All right, so let's start at the beginning with the credits, and we have some water washing over them. So, got some early visual effects here we got going on with this.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. They have like the waves kind of crashing and everything. And then when we come out of the credits, we have like a man on a ship who sees like a lifeboat floating in the distance, and they see that there's a man on it, so they bring him aboard. And
Edward Parker, I believe.
Yeah, and he is like, at first he's unconscious and he's just kind of like ranting. He sounds, deranged. Mostly he's yelling the name Ruth, but he's just kind of ranting other things. But when he finally does wake up, he talks to this man on the ship that at first seems like the captain, but we'll find out he's not. He's a doctor named
Montgomery.
Yeah. And we get a little bit of explanation, like that he was on a ship that went down a few days ago. They had heard a distress call, and he finds out that they have like a shortwave radio, and he wants to send a message to the mainland to let Ruth, his fiance, know that he's been rescued and he's on his way home.
Yeah, specifically, she should be at the Continental Hotel. I forget what was it, Tahiti? They were supposed to be in.
Yeah, the town, I think Apia, which I don't know
Apia.
if is that we'll get a lot of from that. Which I think that town is even referenced in the novel. So they're borrowing pretty heavily, although it does start diverting as we go.
Yeah.
We do, like, when he's talking to Montgomery, he's like, he says, "Thanks, doctor." I mean,
I was
you
a
seem
doctor
like a
once.
doctor. You are a doctor, right? And he's like, I used to be. At one time.
Right.
And then
So cut to a list of missing sailors with Edward Parker's name being on it.
yeah, and we see a woman reading it. Of course, this is Ruth. So yeah, this ship called the Lady Vane went down, and there's like, I think, 6 guys that were not rescued, and Edward's name is among them. And so she walks away sadly and goes to a cafe where she ends up getting a telegram from Edward, the one that he wanted to send. So she's filled with relief. You know, he also was rescued. And then we go back to the ship where Edward is now well enough that he's walking around the deck.
Hey, nice and clean shaven, right? And then he gets
Yeah.
attacked by a guy in a gorilla suit, which you gotta love.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like exotic animals in cages, and he's like, is this a floating zoo? And they're like, no, these are specimens. And this is when he bumps into the captain, the actual captain.
Right, who was apparently quite drunk.
He didn't even know that they'd picked up a rescue,
Right.
and he's not happy about it. And Montgomery is like, yeah, we were going to tell you, but you were like passed out drunk. And he's like, I have to stay drunk to put up with all the nonsense that you've brought onto my ship. I don't like you. I don't like your animals. I don't like Dr. Moreau.
Right. By the way, this movie has a lot to say about alcoholism. Apparently, it's not a big fan.
Yeah. And, Montgomery doesn't like him talking bad about Moreau. The captain calls him a grave-robbing ghoul. Mm-hmm. I think at that point, they're they're doing kind of like a walk and talk thing.
Yeah.
The captain bumps into this other guy that has like, some facial deformities, and like gets really mad and just kind of like shoves him down. And
Right. Edward's like, hey, that's kind of, why the hell would you do that?
yeah, so Edward punches the captain.
KOs him.
And he goes to check on this man. We find out that his name is Mling. And as Edward's like checking on him, he notices that his ears are a little pointy and very furry.
Oh, those are not man ears.
Yeah. And as Mling comes to, he jumps up and like lunges at the captain, really lunges at the camera. And we
growling.
see that and we see he also has like fangs.
Hey, he's a dog man.
Yeah. So we just cut to like a little later, arriving at the island, and Edward asks one of the other sailors on the ship, like, what goes on this island? And the sailor, pretty ominously, is like, I don't know, and if I ever did, I would want to forget. So,
Right. So maybe he does know and has wanted to forget.
yeah. There's like, they're kind of working in the background as this conversation's going on. They're unloading the ship onto like a little schooner.
We get a little shot of Moreau on the boat.
Yeah, we see him off in the distance, all in white. And the captain's like yelling at him, like, "This is it, Moreau. I'm never coming back here. Like, you're done. You're cut off." And then as they start pulling away,
The captain approaches Edward. He's like, hey, you're getting off here, buddy.
yeah, and everyone's like, "No, I'm going back to Apia." Like,
Hey, I've got 2 things to say to you. 1 and 2. Boop, boop.
Yep.
He punches him 2 times.
Yeah, and then throws a dummy version of him overboard onto the schooner.
Right. Clearly, this would kill a normal person.
Yeah.
Like this drop. That would be it.
Yeah. Then they're still yelling up to the captain, like, no, by maritime law, you have to take, anybody who's been like washed up, like you have to take them
Right.
back to the mainland. And he's like,
And
nope,
he's like,
I just have to, the first port of call. This is it. I've done my duty.
Yeah, if you don't want to deal with him, throw him overboard. That's what I did.
Yeah.
So this captain's just an asshole. Plain and simple.
Yeah. So Moreau is like, all right, well, you're here, I guess. Tomorrow morning, Montgomery can help you take the schooner back to the mainland.
By the way, we see a gun on this guy's hip, so we know everything's not on the up and up.
Yeah. And Moreau is like really the only actor on here that anybody might recognize. Probably he's Charles Laughton, who's been in all kinds of stuff. He's like in early days like classic actor. The tiniest connection that we would have to him is that he was the longtime husband of Elsa Lanchester, the Bride of Frankenstein.
There you go.
Even though he was also famously gay, but that was pretty common back in the day.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think they kind of play with parts of that.
Yeah. So yeah, they eventually they arrive at the shore, and Moreau's like, "All right, I'll take you up to the house." And Montgomery's like, "If we're just leaving in the morning, why don't me and Parker can just stay on the boat and we'll just leave?"
Nah.
And Moreau's like, "Nah, let's show him around. Since he's here, we might as well, right?"
Yeah, for science and such, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
But also, we do get a look at the villagers, who all have a very, let's say, animalistic look to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like Maling, but none of them are the same. They're all different. And yeah, Moreau is giving Edward a tour. He's got a whip that he just kind of like snaps at everybody to keep him at a distance. So yeah, I think Edward is very curious about what's going on here.
By the way, this is when Moreau busts out the, "Oh yeah, I learned how to be good at whips as a child in Australia." What? Okay.
Yeah.
Your parents were in a penal colony, I guess, or I don't know what it was at the time, but
yeah. And yeah, so they eventually get to the mansion where Edward sees that there are more like just animals that are caged up, and just more of the other people that he says, "You got some strange looking natives here," and Moreau's like, yeah, it's he just doesn't really explain much there. But then we cut to like later at dinner, where they're all sitting there, and there's like horrible like moaning, screeching sounds coming from outside.
Right, and Moreau of course comments on Montgomery's drinking of brandy. He's like, you're hitting the brandy again there, buddy.
Mm-hmm. And he's also like, Edward or Parker, promise me that you're going to be discreet when you go back to the mainland.
A man of discretion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But please stay in your room and don't leave for comfort reasons.
Yeah. So that once they leave Edward there, Moreau tells Montgomery, go check on the lab and see if there's anything you can do in there.
Be sober. Stay sober tonight.
Yeah. And he's like, I think I'm going to bring her to see Edward.
Her? Okay.
Yeah. We haven't had any luck. She's too afraid of us, but maybe Edward will be different. She has no fear of him, no reason to be afraid.
Maybe he'll incite her womanly impulses, whatever that means.
Mm-hmm. So then we have Moreau visiting this woman, Lotta, who is not animalistic in any obvious way. That like she just looks like a very beautiful woman in like a little like leather bikini, basically.
Yeah, because you got to at the time.
Right, yeah. So he takes her to Edward and tells Edward that she is a pure Polynesian and the only woman on the island.
Well, before he brings her in, though, he tells her, hey, I don't want you to say anything about me. You cannot tell him about the law, which, that's vague and ominous, and you cannot tell him about the House of Pain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah.
There we go. We now have our stakes that she'll probably tell him about all of those things.
Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'm just going to leave you all to it. You can talk. But of course, we see that he's kind of like watching them through a window from a little bit away.
Right. He's got a scientific observation,
Mm-hmm. But we see she's not a strong English speaker. So like Edward is asking her all kinds of questions, very rapid fire, and she's kind of just like very halting in her answers, and of course she's a little scared. She doesn't want to say too much.
Right. He offers her a cigarette, and she's like, I don't want that, because animals are the only things that don't like smoke or cigarettes.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you, tobacco industry.
Yeah. So yeah, as Moreau's watching, then we have Montgomery rushing in to him and is like, I need your help. Something's wrong. So once Moreau's gone, of course they don't know Moreau was ever there or has left. But we get a little bit more with like Lotta being like, so are you going to stay here? And he's like, no, I'm leaving in the morning. She's like, but I want you to stay.
Right. So she's already into this guy.
Yeah. She asks, if you leave, will you come back? And he's like, no, probably not. But
then they do hear screaming from the House of Pain.
Mm-hmm. And she lets out like, oh no, it's the House of Pain. So, the combination of the horrible scream and this very ominous phrase concerns Edward, so he runs to help, and that's where he finds Moreau performing some sort of procedure on one of these animalistic natives who is, screaming in agony.
He's like, hey man, you're cutting this dude to pieces. What the hell's going on with that? That's weird. Don't do that.
Yeah, and Moreau's like, leave me. I'm in the middle of something. I'll explain later.
Right.
So as soon as Edward leaves, he's like, kind of frantic. He's like, okay, this all makes sense now. Moreau is vivisecting living humans. He's turning these natives into monsters. We need to get away. He's going to hurt you, Lotta. Let's go. We got to go now. I'll take you back to the mainland.
Okay, but as they're running through, they're like, we get a little scene with some of the villagers, and they're like, hey, he's like him, kind of like us, but like maybe this Parker guy, they're thinking maybe he's a god like Moreau to them.
Mm-hmm. So they kind of like surround him, not like like you said, they're not trying to hurt him, but they impeded his progress, so he's kind of like stuck. And then Moreau appears up on a hill with his whip and starts snapping it, and they all get quiet.
What is the law?
Yeah.
What a hell of a line.
Yeah, so this is where we meet the sayer of the law, played by Bela Lugosi, and he will recite a line from the law and end with, are we not men? And all the villagers will respond, are we not men? And then they do it again. What is the law?
Basically the thing is, we're not to run on all fours, we do not eat meat, and we do not spill blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
So, and Moreau, as they're reciting the law, Moreau seems like almost like in ecstasy at like hearing these, these creations of his reciting
God complex
law.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, they hand Edward off to Moreau, and he's like, what do you've cut up all these people and turned them into these creatures. How can you live with yourself? And Moreau very quickly eases the tension. He takes the pistol off his hip and he just hands it to Parker, and he's like, okay, now you're armed and I'm not. You're in control. Right. Will you come back to the house with me and I'll explain everything? Okay,
so all right, we get our explanation scene. Let's go.
Yeah. So, and we get, it goes straight into it. He says,
It all started with plants in London.
Yeah, he says, I've figured out how to speed up the evolutionary process. So if you look at these plants, this is what... I can't, I think the first one
I
was
expect
an orchid.
them to be at 100,000 years. Yeah, he starts with an orchid. What is it? He goes on to a lily, and then he's like, oh yeah, I kind of just fucked up with this asparagus.
It's just giant weird thing.
Yeah. But, you just made everything bigger, Moreau. That's all you did.
Yeah, which makes no sense. I mean, we know evolutionarily that, we used to have much bigger animals that have, become smaller over time.
Right. Like technology, we're shrinking, right? Well, except humans, we're getting bigger in every way.
So he says, I've realized that, man evolved over time from apes.
Right, and all animal life is tending towards the form of man, which I don't think that's true. I think most of it's going towards crab, which is odd.
Yeah. So I'm just skipping ahead thousands of years with a variety of animals through surgeries and vivisections. So he shows him the man on the slab that he was working on earlier, and he says, this was once an animal, just like all the men out in the jungle.
Right.
And Edward is pretty quick to be like, okay, I believe you, but that's still bad. You're still torturing animals. and Moreau is like, he's proud of his work. He says, it's scientific achievement. Of course, scientists occasionally have to hurt and kill animals. We still do this today. However you feel about it, it is a fact of life.
Well, he tells Parker, he's like, "Hey, get mature about this, man. Be an adult. Shit happens."
He says the hardest part is the procedures that go into making them able to talk and to teach them how to talk. And then he makes a little sexist joke. Someday I'll create a woman and it'll be much easier because, women, they be talking.
Yeah, but also, it's kind of like he's already telling him, hey, I've already done that, actually.
Yeah.
Do you know what it feels like to be God, Parker?
Of course, yeah. We got to get a Frankenstein line in there. So this came out in, 32? Is that right? I think this is
I want to say that's correct. Yeah, it's 32 because it's only 1 year after Dracula.
Yeah. So it's strange. So yeah, it came out after Frankenstein, but the Hays Code came in 34 or 5. So he could still say this. Do you know what it feels like to be God? Line that also Henry said in Frankenstein. Yeah, but wild that Lugosi did not want to be he was almost a Frankenstein monster in Frankenstein, but didn't want to be buried under makeup. And then now a year later he's covered in fur.
Even more makeup, which is hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, so, Parker is just kind of he's still not happy with the thing, but he's definitely calmed down. And, Moreau's like, okay, that was a lot to take in. It's late. Why don't you head to bed? I think he says, I hope you sleep well. And Lotta is there. She tells Edward good night. And as soon as Edward leaves, Edward bumps into Lotta. She's not standing there next to Moreau.
Right.
But she still approaches him and says goodnight. And Moreau and Montgomery are observing from a little distance, and he's like, see, it's already starting. Her feminine tenderness.
Right. She's being tender to Parker. Whatever that means. She's just talking to him. I don't know what, what the hell's up with that? She's just saying, hey, I miss you, She's obviously interested in the guy, but...
Yeah.
I don't think it's more tenderness than just being polite.
Yeah. But Moreau
but we might find out with Parker's aid if she's a
we need
full
to
woman.
Keep going with this. We need to know more.
I want him to fuck this animal woman.
Yeah. And Montgomery's but he's leaving in the morning. And Moreau's
maybe he is, maybe he ain't.
Yeah, he says, wouldn't it be a great loss to science if he were to leave in the morning?
Right.
And Montgomery just kind of nods all right, I know what you're saying.
Right.
And then we
cut to them going out to the boat.
Yeah, the next morning, and the boat is just sunk in the harbor. And Moreau's oh no, what happened to the boat?
Right, the villagers must have went a little bonkers last night.
Yeah, and then he winks at Montgomery. So, everybody knows.
He's like, if I could pay you, I would give you a raise. Yeah.
Meanwhile, we go back to Apia, where the ship has arrived, and Ruth is asking has anybody seen Edward Parker? And they're all
talk to the captain.
Yeah. And so they get to him, and he's like, I left him at this little island.
Well, he catcalls her first, because we gotta know he's a scumbag.
Yeah. He's not a sympathetic character at all.
Nah.
Yeah, so he eventually admits, I just left him at this previous island. I can give you, or does he even? He doesn't even give her the coordinates. He's just no, it's not my problem.
Well, he literally says, if you have a problem, take it up with the council. And she's like, oh, I will. I'll go to the council, U.S. Council.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we immediately cut to him being brought before the consulate, and he's like, I did my duty. I, dropped him for the next port of call, and the consulate's like, no, this is the next port of call. That's just a little island. And he's like, I was making a delivery there. There's a village. People live there. Port of call, if you ask me.
Right. And the consul's like, I'm not pleased with that. I'm probably going to take your license for you being an asshole.
Yeah, we're going to look further into this, and, you
Yeah.
should be aware that you may lose it. And
Right.
so then we see that the consulate arranges another ship to take Ruth out to the coordinates that the captain did give to him. And
Right.
so
with Captain Donahue.
And then we cut back to the island where Edward is reading a book, and Lotta keeps kind of interrupting him. She wants to talk to him, and he's like, "Well, okay, I'll tell you what I'm reading about. This book's about. I took it from Moreau's library, but it's about radio signals, and I'm hoping I can figure out a way to build some kind of radio so that I can contact the mainland and help us to escape." And she's like, "Oh, this
Right,
book
and
will
she's
help
rubbing
you
up on
leave
him.
me." Yeah. She's definitely
Yeah.
cuddling up against him. And when he's like, "Yeah, this book would help me leave the island."
Yeah,
she takes
she's
it
like,
from
"Fuck
him
that!" Grabs the book. Yeah, throws it in the
throws
water.
it- Yeah. And he quickly realizes, like, okay, I see what's happening here. And he's like, "I understand how you're feeling, but I love someone else."
Right. Do you know what I'm saying? And she's like, no idea. Just keep talking though. That's great.
Yeah. And so he gives in at that point and kisses her. But then he stands up, he feels some amount of regret and shame that he gave in so easily to her, seduction,
Feminine, yeah.
as it were, or whatever.
Her animalistic charms. By the way, she's a Catwoman. If you haven't already gotten that, I think we've already spoiled it early on. But yeah, she's a literal Catwoman.
And she rushes back to him to touch him, and that's when he grabs her hands and sees that she has claws coming out of her fingers. They are not long nails. This is something more.
Right, and she's embarrassed, obviously, of her claw nails, so she runs off.
And he runs to talk to Moreau, and because he's put two and two together at this point too, and he's like, "You don't deserve to live. You've created this woman from animals.
Right.
I'm gonna expose you to the world for what you really are." And Moreau's like, "Oh, so you're leaving?"
Right. Yeah. How are you doing that, buddy? Hey, would you like a cup of tea?
Yeah. And Moreau's like, "I mean, you should see. She's my most perfect creation. But I needed to know that she was a real woman, and I needed you to prove it."
Right.
So
So you came here and presented an opportunity for me.
Yeah. So Edward just shoves him down and is like, "You need to make arrangements to get me back to the mainland immediately."
Yeah.
Moreau
runs
gets
off
up.
to Lotta.
Yeah.
He's like, "What'd you do?"
Yeah, what did you say? And then she just holds out her hands, and he's he's upset. He's like, "The animal flesh always takes over no matter what I do."
It keeps creeping back.
And she starts crying, and then he's like, "Well, crying, that's very human. Maybe I'm closer than I thought. So I just have to keep Edward trapped a little while longer, and we'll."
Yeah, I'm going to burn out all of the animal in you and make you completely human. So you're going to the House of Pain, Lotta.
And Edward, he may be upset at first, but eventually boredom and monotony will do the rest. So then we see one of the beast men watching on the shore as a rowboat approaches, containing Ruth and Captain Donahue. So,
Right. Who just themselves. They don't bring any other crew.
Yep, just a little rowboat. And of course he runs to warn everyone. And we have sort of a quick thing where he'll run and warn one person who warns another, and eventually Moreau knows, but I mean Ruth and Donahue arrive pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And
Where they go through,
right away,
they walk through
Moreau
the
just
village.
lets him in the house, and he doesn't try to hide anything. Parker comes out. Ruth and Parker are reunited happily. So it's wow, this movie seems like it's just about over. What else could happen at this point?
Right. Shouldn't we just leave now? But no.
Yeah.
Moreau's like, "Oh, you can't leave. It might be dangerous out there."
Yeah, it's getting dark. You all should leave in the morning. I can put you up for the night. And Ruth is kind of relieved. She was like, I figured, that Edward was like, trapped on a little desert island, but he's been living comfortably in this nice house.
Right.
And we see that Lotta is watching all this unhappily.
Right. Of course, Montgomery approaches her, and she's like, hey, I don't want to go to the House of Pain. He's like, don't worry, you're not going to the House of Pain. You're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, everybody agrees, like, okay, we'll stay the night if that's going to be safer. And they're all sitting down to dinner. And the Captain Donahue notes that Moreau is a vegetarian. And he's like, yeah, the natives here don't eat flesh, and I just kind of respect their customs.
Donahue's like, not even long pig.
Yeah, and Moreau kind of chuckles a little bit, and Ruth's like, what does that mean? And Moreau's like, he's making a cannibal joke, basically. She's like, oh, that's gross.
Yeah. But of course, the Captain Donahue's just drinking away because drinks are evil at this time.
Mm-hmm. And then we hear some like chanting outside, and Ruth's like, what's that about? And Moreau's like, why don't you ask Edward? He could tell you all about it. And Edward's like, it's nothing. You don't want to know. It's not. Don't. Just ignore it.
I feel like this is the most important time to be like, yo, this is what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know why he's keeping her out of it. I feel like she should be vigilant that like things are not what they seem.
Right. Especially with what's going to happen later.
Yeah. So we have a little later, Moreau is taking everyone to their rooms. And Donahue, again with the alcoholism thing, he sees a bunch of Moreau's specimens, and he's like, boy, I'm sure glad I'm not a drinking man. This stuff would really freak me out.
Takes a sip.
Edward's like, yeah, it seems like you did pretty well tonight for not a drinking man. And then he's like, here's our room. You can go let yourself in. I'm going to, make sure that Ruth is settled and say goodnight. I'll be in a few minutes.
And Parker doesn't tell her much, but he's like, hey, make sure you're locked up. Don't leave this room. You won't be safe.
Yeah, don't answer the door for anybody but me. And she seems a little like, everything seems fine. I don't know what you mean, but okay. So he leaves, and she does lock the door behind him.
I just feel like even though you're not married and not supposed to be in the same room at night, that you wouldn't leave her. Like, if you really cared about her safety.
Yeah, like, I would not worry about propriety in this situation. It's not like no one around is going to be back in society with you to care or tell on you or whatever.
You're getting married anyway.
Yeah, sleep on the floor if you have to, but I would stay in that room for sure.
Right.
But yeah.
Especially.
Yeah, because as soon as she locks the door, she starts undressing for bed, and then we just cut to her asleep. And a beast man is watching her through the window that has these huge bars, but he's so tempted by her that he manages to break a few of the bars off.
Well, this was not his own decision. He was we're going to find out he was spurred on by someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I believe this character's named Orn, basically orangutan. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, so he climbs inside and is like standing over her as she wakes. She screams in terror. Edward runs to rescue her, but she locked the door, so now he can't get in. But thankfully it is like a jail cell type door with like an open window and bars, so he's able to just fire his gun wildly into the room, which I don't know if he even hits the beast man, but he does scare him, so he runs back out.
Montgomery knows what's going on immediately. He's like, what the hell did you do, Moreau?
Mm-hmm. He's like, you wanted this to happen. You thought that you wouldn't need Edward anymore if you could get one of the men to become interested in her.
Right. And he doesn't say as much, but he's like, it would have been crazy if that happened, right?
Yeah. So, of course, after the Beastman leaves, Ruth lets Edward and Donahue in, and he's like, we're not safe here. It's just as dangerous here as the jungle. We might as well go.
Right. Which I feel like that's something you should have led with when they're like, oh, it's getting dark out there. I can't protect you. And he's like, it's the same.
Yeah, exactly. But for some reason, so Montgomery arrives, and because he's so mad at what Moreau did that he's like, I'll help you escape. Let's get out of here. And Donahue's like, okay, I'll go get the boat ready. You all join me shortly. Let's split the party when we know these crazy beastmen.
We know that works so well, right?
Yeah.
But Moreau's, as they're leaving, Moreau's like, hey, Oren, why don't you go choke out the captain when he leaves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah, sure enough, he manages to catch up to the captain, attacks him, and then we see him dragging him into the village. And then, all the other beastmen come out, including the Sayer of the Law, who's like, you've broken the law, you spilled blood. And Oren's like, but he told me to. He commanded. Yeah, so, what do you do when God tells you to break God's law?
Right. I feel like this is a commentary.
Yeah. And so all the beastmen are, there's kind of just everyone's confused. What do we do? How should we feel about this? Yeah. And then we see that Moreau is just back at the house, just really, being the villain at this point. He's enjoying all of this chaos that he's sort of sown.
Right.
And we see that the beast realize that not only is Donahue injured, he's dead.
Right. He's like, hey, I killed that god, so maybe the guy who has been torturing us can die too.
Yeah. If you can kill a god, you can kill any god.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, so the beastmen kind of form a mob and start swarming towards the house.
Right. They decide to play Elden Ring. Sorry.
Yeah. But it seems like Mling may be a more loyal servant to Moreau, so he rushes ahead of the mob.
Well, Montgomery even notes that's his faithful hound. So,
yeah.
Gotcha.
And he tells Moreau and Montgomery that the captain is dead and that the beasts are coming to kill him. And Moreau's like, yeah, I'm not worried about it. He's got his whip. Yeah.
That'll protect him. Well, he does go to the villagers and he says, what is the law? And they're like, there is no law. We're done with that.
Yep. So, Montgomery and Edward and Ruth had not left yet. So they see all this going on and they're like, well, let's run out the back then. So they start to leave, and Edward's like, what about Lotta? I wanted to bring her. And then we see the beastmen burst into the house and swarm around Moreau, and he's like, don't forget the House of Pain. And the Sayer of the Law is like, you made us there. We are not men, we are not beast. We are part man and part beast. We are things.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. So we have Edward and Ruth and Montgomery running away. They weren't able to find...
Oren is chasing them, basically, but he's doing it at a distance, so they can't really know what's going on.
Yeah, and...
they're looking for Lotta, but Lotta is secretly stalking around in the trees, and she surprises Oren, and they kill each other, basically.
Yeah, she jumps down on them, attacks, and they fight to the death. So Edward hears the fight and rushes to her and sees that Oren is dead. She is fatally wounded, and she says, "Go back. You should go." Then we see that the beastmen, they didn't just kill Moreau. They have him alive, and they have dragged him to the House of Pain, where they're holding him down on the slab.
And they're like, "Hey, get those tools."
Yeah, they break open a bunch of cases, and they're going to do to him what he did to them. And we just outside see our heroes all in the boat rowing away, and I think
Montgomery literally says, "Don't look back." And the end. Abrupt ending.
Yeah. It's been a while since we've watched one of these classic Universal movies. We get our classic abrupt endings. So.
Right. I mean, honestly, this could have done with this is an hour and 10 minutes. Give it another minute to just let that sink in. Just everything that happened.
Yeah, it definitely could have breathed for a minute or two. But I guess, this is almost the exact same way that Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein ends, but with, then they have a little gag where the Invisible Man's on the boat with them.
Right.
But yeah, it's just such a thing of this time period. It's just we saw what was going to happen. We don't, we don't need to see them arrive at the mainland or anything like that. We don't need the wraparound story from the novel of like them trying to tell their story to people. Like, nope, we've Moreau's dead. The end.
Right. I feel like literally this movie should have inspired at least a parody where like every 5 minutes Parker ends up on a boat stranded in the middle of the ocean. Because like that's his whole thing, right? That's where he ends up or starts off in the book, and like he's like pretty close. It's like I'm stranded in a boat.
Yeah,
and this story starts with me stranded in the boat again. Yeah, sorry.
Absolutely, yeah. So this. I mean, for the most part, this follows the novel. Of course, in the novel, Lotta doesn't exist. This whole angle is not part of the novel. But as far as like the major plot points, it's it's fairly faithful, all things considered. Much more so than Frankenstein or Dracula were, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like the latter day Island of Dr. Moreau just I'm not going to say lifted this wholesale, but definitely took a lot of it. Took so many pieces from this one versus the book. Anthony, anything else we got to say about it?
I think that's it for this one. It's it's a pretty slim movie, as we said. It's like an hour 10, but yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. It's a classic, and definitely like a good first attempt at an adaptation of Moreau for sure.
Right. I mean, it definitely. I feel like it's part of the that whole Universal Monsters thing, even though it's not technically.
Yeah.
And it's definitely inspired a lot of things. So, yeah, that's interesting. So how about next week we stay on the Island of Dr. Moreau with another version of Island of Dr. Moreau, this one with Burt Lancaster, I believe?
Yes. Yeah, so this is the first one that's actually, titled The Island of Dr. Moreau. So we'll get to that one. I know that most people are more familiar with the later one, but we got to.
And the mess that is.
Yeah, this one, this one, I don't think as many people probably have seen it, but I'm really excited to get to it because it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Anthony, anything else to be said?
I think that's it.
Where can they find us, my friend?
So you can find us on all the socials at The Frankencast. You can email us at thefrankencast@gmail.com. We're also over on YouTube. And, of course, you can always find us at patreon.com/thefrankencast. Where we're always doing new things. We've got all kinds of strange stuff over there, so we'd love to have you. I go through all this all the time, but there's free trials if you want to just check some stuff out and binge through it and then leave without paying. That's fine. We'd love to have you over there. We've got a second episode every week, so there's plenty of material over there for you to enjoy.
Absolutely, it's a lot of fun over there. So definitely check us out.
Absolutely.
All right. Anything else to be said?
I think that's it.
Well, this is the law to be continued.
Looks like you survived another episode. The Frankencast is a production of FCR Media. It's hosted by Anthony Bowman and Eric Velasquez. Follow us on Twitter at The Frankencast or send us a letter at thefrankencast@gmail.com. Our cover art is by Amanda Keller. You can find her at Keller Illustrations on Instagram. Our theme music is by Vivek Abhishek. Thanks for listening.